les institutions de la République sont dissoutes.
The military takeover in Gabon is the 8th such revolt on the African continent since 2020. It follows the coup in Niger just a month earlier, a country described as Washington's last and best counter-terrorism outpost in West Africa. In the past few years, military officers have also seized power in Mali, Guinea, Burkina Faso, and Chad. The reasons for the coups themselves are complicated, with specific local political actors and dynamics at play. But there is a common feature. Many of the officers involved have also been trained by the United States. In fact, Responsible Statecraft found that since 2008, at least 15 US trained officers have been involved in 12 coups in West Africa and the Sahel.
What percentage of the people we've trained end up participating in insurrections or coups against their own government?
Very small number, Congressman, very small number.
So what percentage do you think?
I'd say probably less than 1%.
There's no direct causal link between US training and the coups themselves, but the fact they're happening reveals an uncomfortable truth. America's narrow counterterrorism objectives in West Africa aren't serving African or American interests. Washington's approach has largely been to dispatch soldiers to train elite local forces to take on Al-Qaeda and Islamic State.
The U.S. military has been reluctant to deploy large numbers of its own troops to the continent. So the idea is that U.S.-trained African forces can function as proxies or as extensions of U.S. power with the broader goal of protecting access to resources.
A military-first policy is simultaneously supposed to instill democratic values.
That guy in the middle with the big red hat, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, that's him with a bunch of U.S. service members outside of our embassy. And just months after this photo was taken, in 2021, he led a coup in Guinea and threw out the leader. Does that concern you?
Congressman, core values is what we start off with in IMA programs.
Do we share core values with Colonel Doumbouya?
Core values. I will repeat that. Core values. Respect for humanity.
Do we share those values with Colonel Doumbouya?
Absolutely. In our curriculum.
He led a coup.
We do.
Our narrow approach might make these militaries more effective at fighting extremist groups, but they're also reportedly oppressing, abusing, and killing civilians with greater frequency. The US chose not to impose sanctions on Chad after its coup because the current head of state, Mohammed Idris Deby, had been an ally against Boko Haram. And last October, Chadian security forces killed dozens of protesters on the day Deby promised to hand over power to a civilian government. Similar reports have emerged from Burkina Faso and Mali. The coups speak to the broader problem of Washington's strategy for these countries. It's not producing results, but it does appear to be emboldening coup leaders we can't seem to control.
On a broad level, U.S. policymakers have to come to terms with the fact that the geopolitical landscape is changing and that a military-first approach is counterproductive.
Regardless of our intentions, our policy is failing. Isn't it long past time to rein in U.S. military assistance that too often results in these bad outcomes? And instead, invest in programs that show civilians here that the U.S. can concretely make their lives better?